What's up, dudes? I'm going to talk about communist philosophy. So a common misconception is that communism is an invention of Karl Marx. That is completely false. People who say that are normies. Marx didn't invent communism. Communism is an abstract concept. It's not, first off, you can't even invent anything. You can discover something, but everything that exists already exists. You can't invent something. Like, for example, Bach, he didn't invent the cello suite. He didn't invent that. He discovered it. It has always existed because it was like somebody else. So Bach's from Germany. Somebody from Norway who has no idea about Bach's existence could have came up with that exact same tune. Whether in the same time, in different space, or same space but different time, or different time in a different space. I mean, you have a person on one planet, a person on another planet, they can both come up with the same tune. They're not inventing that tune. Because you can't, there's no such thing as inventing. Anyways, Karl Marx, communism is not dependent on Karl Marx, because Karl Marx got a lot of stuff wrong about communism, just like Charles Darwin got a lot of stuff wrong about evolution. But that's okay, because the whole point is people come along and they improve on what was before. We improve upon it. Some of what Marx got wrong was the idea that communism is stateless. No, communism is total state. Because statelessness, that's called anarchy. Anarchy, take a fucking plane to Tanzania. Go down to the fucking Serengeti wild, nature reserve. You're gonna see anarchy. You're gonna see fucking just bloodshed everywhere, man. People killing each other. I'm talking about animals here, but gators fucking killing zebra. It's just brutal, man. People trying to kill babies as soon as they're born. They're fucking eaten by lions. Like that is absence of state. That is what happens when there's no government. Okay. Capitalism is the same way. People will fight, scam, do whatever it takes for them and their family, their people, to be on top. That's capitalism. That's nature. That's the Serengeti. That's what exists naturally. That is cold. Communism is hot. It's heat. Heat is rare. The universe is cold. Existence is cold. Heat is just the reaction of hydrogen and helium. That's where energy comes from. That's what communism is. It goes against nature. It goes against the default state. Default, whatever. I'm trying to eat a dead bird right now. Another thing Karl Marx got wrong about communism is the idea that everyone should be able to own guns. He's like, oh, that's communism. And a lot of normie communists who they don't really know much. They're not critical thinkers. They're like, oh yeah, I'm pro Second Amendment. Yeah, I'm pro guns. But they don't think. What are guns used for? They're not used for they're not used for man versus nature. They're used for man versus man. Whether it be shooting someone trying to rob you, shooting a bear trying to attack you, that's man versus man. And the thing is, like, there'd be no need for guns if guns didn't exist. Guns are the type of thing that exist purely for themselves, But the main point about guns, why communism is inherently anti-gun, is because guns are used to defend private property. How can you How can you have a communist state when people are out here with guns defending their fucking marijuana farms or whatever the fuck? When they have their own private property, that you can't have communism with guns. Like these people, they're like, oh, communism is anarchy. I'm an anarcho-commune. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. You need to be put in an education camp because you are a fucking idiot. Another thing about communism. This is not, I don't think, like, whatever, but communism requires regulatory reproduction, meaning you can't just let people have as many kids as they want. You can't have that. The whole point of communism is, instead of society being comprised of multiple different nations or multiple different families, it's just one nation or one family, where every child is everyone's child. That's communism. And you have governors in the United States that do very, communist policies, like taxing the rich to pay for free school lunches for children. That's communist policy, or social, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But it's the idea that parents don't pay for the school lunches, the government pays for school lunches. And in turn, that makes children not servants to their parents, but servants to the government, because the government takes care of you. But, like, I'm watching this video about dystopian capitalism, where this old guy was working at Walmart. He was like in his 80s, working at Walmart, and this guy saw him and was clearly struggling. And this guy's like, hey man, we wrote you a check so you can finally retire. And then he's like, oh wow, yeah. And it was like this big show or whatever, and he was interviewing. He's like, what are you going to do with the money? He's like, well, I guess I'll donate it. I'm like, like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? It's 2024. The only people who say, like, socialism sucks, those people are literally just either they're either being paid to say that, or they were brainwashed by people who were paid to say that. And who's the one brainwashing? Who's the one promoting the idea that socialism sucks? It's the rich, obviously. The rich are the ones who opposed the American Revolution, and the rich were the ones who supported the Confederate War for Independence. They do what's in their own best interest. They oppose anything that will undermine their power and their way of life. And their way of life is sustained through the exploitation of workers. The plantation owners, just as today in 2024, workers are exploited by the factory owners and the people in the front in the air-conditioned rooms, just as that is how it is in 2024. In 1824, slaves, their labor was being exploited by the fucking slave owners. The slave owners were fucking parasites. All they did was reap the benefits. They did nothing. You can take them out. You can take the slave owner, the plantation owner out. Just execute them. And have, instead of the slaves working to benefit these people and their families, what if they were instead working to benefit the state? And the state in turn uses that money for roads, cancer research, space exploration. Just anything that's beneficial for everyone. Not just, oh, me and my family. No, everyone. That's communism. But, we still live in an era of labor exploitation. Every time you buy a diamond ring, like I saw this video on YouTube or whatever, where this girl was like, she was on her counter, like on her phone, whatever, her fat ass was sitting on the counter, like on her phone, and then her boyfriend comes in, drops her bag off, drops his bag off, and then she's like going through his bag to find something that she dropped or whatever, and she finds an engagement ring, and she's like, oh, and she shuts it, and you could tell like the boyfriend fucking heard her shut it and puts it up. I was like, oh, okay, fuck. But here's the thing, bro. Why are you buying a fucking engagement ring? Like, you do, like, the movie Blood Diamond has been out for so long by now. You should know that buying diamonds only sponsors or creates incentive for African tribes to fucking wage war against other African tribes, enslave them, and exploit their labor so that they can mine diamonds and sell them to Western Jews, who are the jewelry owners. They're the ones like, oh, you have to buy a diamond ring. If you really love your wife, you have to buy her a diamond ring to prove your... No. It's so... No. Diamonds should not be used for fucking rings. They should be used for technology. But you can't have that without communism. You can't, like, you can't enforce law. You can't enforce communism without a world government. Without a world government that can maintain possession of its forts. Just like Lincoln did in the 1860s when the Confederates tried to seize U.S. federal forts. You can't have that. You have to maintain your forts. Otherwise, how the fuck are you supposed to do anything? What's the fucking point? What's the point of the Constitution if you can't maintain possession of Fort Sumter, of Fort Henry, of Fort Donelson? What the fuck? Well, the ivory trade, that's another thing, dude. These fucking elephants. And you have to understand, elephants are basically just humans who are they're essentially just human cousins who are like so far removed from us. But you can see the similarity between elephants and humans. Anyways, elephants, their tusks, which are essentially these things right here on elephants. They're fucking long as shit. And it's ivory. People love that shit. So they'll kill elephants just to take their fucking tusks. And you have governments that enforce that. Like I have tremendous respect for like the South African government. Because I think they really crack down on that. Like anyone caught like exploiting ivory, like I have a lot of respect for the South African government. Let me just say that. Nelson Mandela, like there's this IDF soldier from South Africa who was like he was filming himself like blowing up like a Gazan hospital or whatever. And South Africa revoked his citizenship. And these are the good guys. These are the people that our tax dollars are fucking funding, giving them weapons. And meanwhile, you have the South African government basically say anyone who fights in the IDF will not be allowed to return to South Africa. But yeah. You can't have normie communists. My point is that Karl Marx did not invent communism. All he did was suggest an idea. But you cannot have communism without regulating birth. Because when people have kids all willy-nilly, they act in the best interest of their kids, not in the best interest of all kids, but their own kids. The point of the one-child policy is like, hey, yeah, obviously we need kids to perpetuate our society, but at the same time, we need to focus on all children, not just your children, but all children. All children. That's like basic left-wing
for it, my shelf. It's like that big box they have right here, they tore apart.
Let's see. Alright, like I remember as a kid learning about like, oh, reduce, reuse, and recycle. That shit's good. That shit's fucking good. I was at Sonic, I was so tempted to get a burger. Like this guy at work brought breakfast burritos for everyone. But there was dead pig in it. I'm like, bro, I can't eat that. Like, I'm so tempted to eat burgers because I like burgers, but at the same time, I'm disgusted how there are like dead mammals. I don't want to eat a mammal. I'm sorry. But, yeah, communism is the opposition of labor exploitation. Instead of people working to make their masters rich, it's everyone working together to make everyone rich. Well, like in the sense of like cancer research, population reduction, just total victory. I'm in this video.